Game 3 for BYU tomorrow night. The Cougars and Pirates, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2 and BYU Radio. Pregame coverage at 5:30 Eastern on BYU TV and BYU Radio. So, Spence, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you BYU will beat ECU?
Loaded question, and we're getting a ton of responses on our social media front to this question. I want to say 10 out of 10. But there is part of me that understands all of the fickleness of football and how difficult a two-time zone road trip can be and a true freshman quarterback. All of that said, which does give me a little bit of hesitation, I'm still going with a solid 7.5, Jarom. 7.5 out of 10, that if BYU shows up and just sticks to the game plan, if they can execute their discipline and what they've been preparing for 2 weeks, 8 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times, BYU should win this game. I know that somewhere in the metaverse there are some turnovers and weird bounces and things don't go well, maybe an injury, heaven forbid, that would allow East Carolina some positives and an advantage. But I'm a solid 7.5 out of 10. BYU still a touchdown or maybe a touchdown plus 1 point more of a favorite. Listen. I am buying hard into Jay Hill's defense that he's going to be able to create some chaos and make East Carolina's very well-oiled machine on offense at least feel a little bit uncomfortable. It might take a few drives, and so I always love the overreaction early in the game. If East Carolina goes down the field and scores a touchdown or they score some early points and it's looking easy, just be patient, BYU fans. Give Jay Hill and his defense a little bit of time to adapt. He is a master of adjustments. But I'm buying the defense specifically hard, and BYU, as a 7-point favorite, give me 7.5 out of 10. Are you above my rating?
I think you're a 10 to me, just saying. I don't think you are a 7.5 or 8, but I understand what you're saying. No, I'm feeling very confident, very, very confident. I'm 10 out of 10, man. I know it's not like BYU's playing an FCS team. It's 10 out of 10. It's 9.8 or something. 17 plus. I said it Monday. I feel that way today. BYU's lines will play great. I think that's where they dominate this game. Spencer, O-line, D-line. LJ Martin, Sione Moa, Bear Bachmeier. They'll run it well. I think BYU runs for 200 plus. They control the game. The BYU defense will force predictable passing downs. I see 3 picks or more. See 3 sacks or more. I just think ECU has not played a team as skilled as BYU. NC State's quality, but NC State controlled the game and then kind of let ECU get back into it in the fourth quarter. I see BYU putting up some points, the defense putting BYU in great positions. I'm excited about this because I think BYU makes a statement, and they're 3-0, and then they play Colorado, and we get on with our lives into Big 12 play. So I'm very excited, man.
I love that you're confident. I do hesitate again because of the first true road start for Bear Bachmeier. And I know that PTSD for BYU fans plays into this a little bit because BYU has had their struggles against ECU in 2017, but let's throw 2017 out the window.
I know, that's not completely irrelevant
here. That totally different team. Even in 2022, BYU had some key injuries. Jaron Hall wasn't healthy, and they were in a funk, no doubt. This team is not in a funk. They're riding in high, very confident, and again, have had an extra week of preparation to get ready for East Carolina. So, you know what? You've convinced me a little bit. I'm going to take my rating from a 7.5 up to an 8. I'm not quite to the 9.8 you are, but still very confident that BYU is disciplined, they are mature, they have good leadership, and they're going to be able to figure this thing out. I am curious to see what happens when the first moment of adversity strikes for Bear Bachmeier. If it's in this game or it's in another game, how does he handle the pressure when that weight starts to feel heavier on his shoulders because of a mistake he made, or BYU's down a couple of scores and things aren't going well for the offense? I love that we get to watch him mature and grow up in the game of football. I'm just interested to see if it's going to be in this game or somewhere down the line, because inevitably those moments are on the way.
The connection to 22 for BYU and ECU is that Blake Harrell was the defensive coordinator for the Pirates at the time. He was the interim head coach last year, and they went 5-1 down the stretch, now 2-1. And so this guy's, won 6 of his last 8 as the head coach of this team. He was the DC in 22. By the way, Greg Bell pointed out an interesting stat. The last loss to a non-Big 12 team for BYU was ECU in 2022. Our question today is this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that BYU will beat ECU? At BYU Insider on X. 8, defense, special teams, rates of 10, but offense is 6, so split the difference here. Really looking forward to being surprised by the offense this week. That's probably the biggest question mark going into the game, right, Spence? How will the BYU offense perform? Can they best what they did against Stanford?
Absolutely. That's you and I have talked about it at length on the show this week over several episodes. Can BYU manufacture enough points to outscore ECU? Now, if this game becomes a shootout, then I get really concerned. But I don't know how that happens. I have too much faith and trust in what BYU's defense has done for me to think that this game is going to become a shootout. And by shootout, I mean like we get into the 30s and both teams are up there. It would take something really weird, in my opinion, for that to happen in this specific contest.
Last shootout that BYU got in was Oklahoma State last year. That was the only game that they gave up 30-plus. I don't see that happening in this situation. And let's be honest, that was weird. That was a terrible Oklahoma State team. They went 0-9 in Big 12 play. Yeah. How did they score that many points? What happened? All right, continue to weigh in on X, Facebook, and Instagram. Let's take a deeper dive into the matchup and discuss some winning numbers for BYU and ECU. We'll discuss a number, and then let's decide if that is good enough to be a winning number. Would it help BYU win the game? Okay, first off, points scored. Is 24 points a winning number for BYU? You've said it all week. Do you still feel that way?
I'm so glad we're starting here. Yes, in the spirit of Bronco Mendenhall and good vibes from BYU winning in Logan last night in women's volleyball. All of the things, okay? 24 is the magic number. First to 24 wins this game 100%, I feel, Jarom. If BYU can put some pressure on ECU, especially early, and that offense starts to gain some confidence, oh, man, it would just make a world of difference for Bear Bachmeier and the offense to be able to have a fast start. BYU was so good at those last year. Can they do it in a road environment and then carry that to 24 plus? I think they can. I think they have to. If BYU can't get to 24, yikes, it's going to get weird. I mean, we went through earlier this week all of the true freshman first starts by BYU quarterbacks in the history of the program, and we pointed out the 2 games that BYU won with true freshmen starting on the road for the first time, the Cougars won above 24 points. Every other game they had lost. Jarom, 24 is the magic number. Do you feel differently?
No. BYU's won its last 11 when scoring 24 plus. They're 2-3 in their last 5 when scoring fewer than 24. So they can certainly win because the defense is good enough, Spence. But if BYU gets to 24, it feels like, yeah, they will win the game.
Okay, I love that we have discussed some other random numbers in our preparation this morning as we focus in on the run game specifically. The number we have circled here, Jarom, is 188. Is 188 rushing yards a winning number for BYU's rushing attack?
Probably. I'm hoping BYU throws for 250 in that situation. I would think they'd have to go 400 plus to feel pretty confident there. 312 a game through 2, by the way, which is second in the country. That's bloated quite a bit, of course, because Portland State and Stanford. But remember, it's really in 6 quarters of LJ Martin. He's been amazing. LJ Martin's 9.3 yards per attempt is 5th among running backs with at least 20 carries in the country. I mean, that's incredible. Right now, he is playing at a high level. Certainly a bigger test from an ECU defense that plays it pretty well. Aaron Roderick did say the run game is this team's identity. I believe that BYU will dominate the line of scrimmage and be very, very successful. 188, probably a winning number. I would like 200 plus.
2 things. 1, LJ for Heisman, if those numbers continue. And number 2, BYU's been very good when they get to over 150 yards rushing in the Satake era. So if you give me 38 plus that and the defense does their thing, I feel like 188 is a good enough number in the ground game for BYU to feel comfortable about winning this game. I'd love to see LJ go for 100 plus again, just to help him have even more confidence going into Big 12 play.
Next one, Bear Bachmeier completions. Is 23 completions a winning number?
I just want to see him be able to have enough passing attempts to get to 23 completions. So for me, this like Aaron Roderick's not trusting Bear Bachmeier to throw it that many times and have 23 completions if it's not working. Either that or something has gone horribly wrong, Jarom, and BYU is way behind and they're forced to pass. I tend to believe it's going to be the former, that BYU will have control, and let's say he goes 23 for 31 and has over 200 passing yards. I like that. I want to see him throw the ball more. I want to see BYU unleash, as Aaron Roderick said they have yet to do, the full playbook and the full passing game. What does that look like? Will they roll it out against East Carolina? I mean, if the running game continues to work and it's like, hey, they can't stop the run, so we're just going to keep feeding LJ the ball, okay, maybe Bear has a very moderate passing game again. But I think BYU is going to have to use the passing attack more to build some separation and win this game against East Carolina. If he has 23 completions, then, yeah, I believe that's a winning number. What I don't want to have happen is 60 attempts, because that tells me that BYU's in big trouble against East Carolina.
60 would be crazy. To me, 40 probably would be crazy in this game. I want BYU to run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
I want to see BYU run the ball 40 times in this game and dominate from the line of scrimmage. Set up Bear Bachmeier for third and super manageable, 3rd and 4 or less kind of stuff. 23 completions. He has 24 in the first 2 games. Granted, that's in 6 quarters.
I know.
I don't want a ton of completions playing from behind, obviously. That would be bad. I think BYU will dominate the line of scrimmage. I don't think he's going to have 23 completions. Is that a winning number? Not necessarily. Pirates, by the way, have allowed 24, 22, 19 completions in the first 3. NC State's kind of the best comp here. I don't look at Campbell or Coastal numbers that closely. NC State threw for 318 on 24 completions. They rushed it 36 times for 105, so they didn't run the ball particularly well, but they did have 2 touchdowns on the ground. So 23 is an interesting number. I'm hoping it doesn't need to come to that. I don't want Bear to feel like he has to win the game for BYU. I feel like LJ Martin and the defense need to win the game for BYU.
For what it's worth, I don't think that he will have 23 completions. I tend to believe that we are moving towards the type of game where it's a 16 for 24 type game for Bear passing, because the run game is working. Yeah. But if, to his credit, he does complete 23 passes and BYU's offense is cooking and the pass game is what ECU is deciding to give up, then so be it. We'll see how this game obviously develops and what happens when we get to kickoff tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 Mountain. Okay, let's get to the next one. Also featuring Bear Bachmeier, and total offense specifically, Jarom, is 250 yards of total offense for Bear a winning number for BYU against the Pirates?
Probably, because I would think that would include like 50 yards on the ground, it feels like. He's averaging 155 a game right now. Again, he didn't play the second half against Portland State. So if you average it out, what he's done in the 6 quarters, he's averaging 207 per 4 quarters, so plus 43 yards. That's probably a winning number for BYU.
Yes, I'm right there with you. I was going to say, give me 220, and I'd probably say it's a winning number for Bear and the Cougars. Go up to 250? I mean, if he's throwing for 200 yards and he's got 50 yards on the ground, fantastic. Nice balanced effort. This absolutely feels like a winning number to me in the total offense category.
Turnover margin. Is a -1 turnover margin for BYU still a winning number?
Oh, I hate that number so much. If BYU's -1, like, that makes me feel a little gross inside, because I feel like the defense should be able to create more chaos and not lose a turnover margin. But if it's like 1-0 ECU or 2-1 in favor of ECU, then it could get a little bit weird, especially when you consider what type of turnovers those are. Is it a fumble deep in BYU's own territory? Is it a pick six or an interception that sets up ECU for a short field and they're winning that margin? I think BYU, to feel comfortable, needs to be even in that category, Jarom.
I'm calling for 3 picks in this game, which is a lot. There's no way it's going to be -1 if there's 3 picks. There's no way BYU's turning it over 4 times after 3 picks. So is -1 a winning number? It probably still could be, given how good the BYU defense is. But the only scary thing is, if you lose the margin barely and, ECU's chucking it deep and BYU's getting burnt, I just don't see that happening. I just think this BYU defense is too good.
Speaking of throwing the ball deep, Jarom, and East Carolina's passing attack is holding ECU to 299 passing yards, a winning number. We didn't give them 300, quite, just a 1 yard under 300.
It would be if it was 180 going into the middle of the fourth and BYU's up by 17, and then they get, 110 yards on 2 drives. Kind of like Stanford did, I've talked about. 383, 363, 293. Those are the 3 pass totals for ECU in the last 3 games. So that'd be the second lowest of the 4. That's probably a winning number when all's said and done. But I don't think the BYU defense feels like they're going to give up, frankly, over 200. I think they're going to try and shut down ECU with a good pass rush. And then, of course, last year BYU led the nation in interceptions. They've shown us that they're pretty good at it again to start this year.
It is strange to think that 299 passing yards on their home field would not be enough to win a game. But I'm with you. I think they need to be over 300 because of the way that they run their offense and how much they throw it to feel good about outscoring BYU. So I would take 299. And the other part of that is if they're throwing it for 299 yards, I don't think that they're going over 50 or 60 yards on the ground against BYU's front. ECU is going to need to have over 400 total yards of offense to beat BYU, coupled with some favorable bounces and probably some turnovers. But yeah, weirdly, I'll take 299 based on how much they throw the ball and how they're set up to perform.
That would be 200 yards more passing per game than BYU allows now. which is, they're giving up 99 yards passing a game, which is just crazy. Surely it goes over that, but don't challenge this BYU defense to not do something amazing. BYU at ECU coming up tomorrow. Pregame, BYU Sports Nation game day, Cougar pregame live, BYUtv, BYU Radio. That's at 5:30 Eastern time. The game's on ESPN2, BYU Radio at 7:30 Eastern. Postgame, of course, right after the game on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Up next.